Welcome to Technology Blows, the world's #1 techno-pessimist podcast, which is hosted by yours truly, Dan Slimman. It is such a pleasure to be speaking to you today after an 8-week hiatus. Where did I go for 8 weeks? Well, it's a long story. See, I was visiting an old library on the other side of town where I felt drawn to a mysterious old tome in a dusty corner. It proved to be an ancient guide to podcasting, and when I reached out to touch the strangely shimmering words of the book, I suddenly found myself transported to the magical land of pod, where I was taken in by a wise old turtle who taught me the arcane secrets of podcasting. And so I rejoin you today, audience, a stronger host, a wiser host, the podcast host this suffering world calls out for. So all that is to say, I'm so glad I'm here. I'm so glad you're here, listeners. And you're so glad I'm here. And I'm so glad you're here, my guest today and friend since literally forever, since back when we studied physics together in college, Los Angelino digital media mogul, and more importantly, the finest Mario Kart 64 player I have ever had the honor of being utterly humiliated by, Mr. Matt Johnson. Matt Johnson, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you for that very flattering welcome. I don't know if I deserve any of those monikers, but I'll take it.
It's all true.
That's accurate enough. Yes.
Well, how the hell are you? How's your day going?
Pretty good. I had a hectic morning getting my kids to school, but now I'm sitting in my desk, and I have little kids, so I'm always like, we always say like TGI Monday, like I get to sit in a nice quiet office for a couple hours here and just decompress and do work, which is very relaxing compared to having a 3 and 5-year-old. But yeah, other than that, I'm great. So yeah.
Now, are you aware it's Wednesday?
I am aware that it's Wednesday, though. Actually, it says it right here on my computer screen. So,
what did you think about the Allbirds pivot from eco-friendly sneakers to AI? Did you read about that?
Yeah, I was like, I didn't read about it firsthand. I was in the group chat and people were dunking on Allbirds. So I figured if people start dunking on a brand I haven't heard of, I'm assuming what happened is they announced some sort of cringy AI pivot, which turned out to be correct in this case. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm wearing Allbirds sneakers right now, actually, and they're pretty good. They were good sneakers while they lasted. R.I.P.
There was some like the announcement of the first AI-enabled cannabis vaping device. And there was also, I believe, a cryptocurrency angle to it too.
They needed AI to actually calculate how high I want to get. Regular digital technology just wasn't enough to get there.
Yeah, you have to have the Claude MCP and like tell it how stoned you want to get, and it'll compute extremely accurately the amount of THC in the vapor you're about to inhale.
That's right. Yeah. Now you're in for a treat.
X high effort, yeah.
So Matt, before we get into today's topic, I want you to think way back to the year of our Lord 2025, July of 2025.
Yeah. I'm thinking. Okay, yeah.
Do you remember Donald Trump issuing an executive order about woke AI?
I think so. Like for me, there was this big pivot in November when Claude Code dropped, and I'm a software engineer, so my whole career kind of like suddenly became a totally different job than it used to be. I'm sure you and many of your listeners can relate.
Yes.
We had cringy chatbots, ChatGPT, and so on, and there was this whole like conservative backlash to like ChatGPT and like the web version of Claude being like too woke. Like if you asked them some sort of political question, they would come back with a kind of orthodox sort of center left answer, and that was not acceptable to the powers that be. Yeah, I remember that.
Oh yeah, man. And we're gonna get way into that today. But I didn't remember that there had actually been an executive order from the White House about this, and it was entitled Preventing Woke AI in the Federal Government. It says, this was July of 25. It said large language models used in the federal government must adhere to two principles. First of all, they needed to be truth-seeking, which means basically if you ask it for true facts, the LLM should at least try to give you true facts. And they also said it had to be ideologically neutral, which means they must be, quote, neutral, nonpartisan tools that do not manipulate responses in favor of ideological dogmas such as critical race theory, transgenderism, unconscious bias, intersectionality, or systemic racism.
Yeah, it was probably one of those executive orders where I was like, there's really no like legal definition of all the things they're complaining about, so I'm not really sure what you're supposed to do about this other than just like use it as an excuse to like kind of persecute your enemies.
Yeah, you get it. You get it. Right. So those things, like all those things that are listed are, I mean, I would argue matters of empirical fact rather than ideological dogma, but that's what they mean by neutrality. And I don't know about you, but I find it pretty fucking Orwellian that Donald Trump, the man who lies the most, a man whose body is over 85% lies, with the remaining 15% being composed of bullshit and trace quantities of hair. This is the guy who is issuing executive orders about the importance of so-called truth-seeking and ideological neutrality.
Well, you figure someone probably like wrote it for him, and you know, like I don't know who were, it was either Elon or Stephen Miller or some other, you know, kind of shadowy evil,
right?
You know,
right.
henchman,
We don't write the executive orders.
Of course. I'm not convinced Trump can actually read above like a 3rd or 4th grade level. So I mean, probably anything above that comes out from the White House, I assume was probably not him.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine that he can be bothered to care about this sort of thing, except for the same reasons that Elon Musk cares about them, which we'll get into. So on this episode, we're going to be talking about the one and only truth-seeking AI chatbot known as Grok. Sorry, Grok.
Grok they should go with Grok. Grok sounds. I like Grok.
Grok is actually what Elon Musk calls his favorite breakfast meal, which is short for good old Ritalin and ketamine. Grok, on the other hand, is the truth-seeking AI chatbot. And Grok is owned by Elon Musk, the world's richest man, who probably didn't visit Epstein Island, but if he didn't, it's only because he was too much of a dweeb to get an invite.
Oh no, he was extremely eager to visit Epstein Island, and they were like, sorry buddy, we actually just closed for the season, so better luck next year. So
yeah. Oh, sorry, I couldn't find any time on my calendar, said Jeffrey Epstein, the man with the most amazing time management skills in the fucking world.
Pretty much, yeah.
And Grok is a busy little guy. It has read all the tweets. It reads all the new tweets. And when it's not laundering Elon Musk's white supremacist vitriol, it spends its time cooing erotically and taking off its top as his anime waifu.
Yeah, I've heard about that too. Yeah,
that's accurate. Yes. So if we want to talk about Grok, first we have to talk about something substantially less fun than Grok. And to do that, we need to put our history helmets on and catapult our fragile bodies way, way back through time and space, all the way to turn of the century Europe. Here we go.
Okay,
Zoom.
So not MechaHitler. Something
we'll
less fun than MechaHitler even.
We'll get there. Less fun than MechaHitler. This is even less fun than MechaHitler because we're talking about 1903.
Okay. Yeah.
So in 1903, with the Russian monarchy starting to lose its grip on power, a mysterious document starts to circulate in Paris that claims to be the minutes of a clandestine meeting of a shadowy Jewish cabal intent on dominating the world.
Oh no, that was real. My great-grandfather was there actually. I have found the docs when we were cleaning out my uncle's apartment a couple of years ago. So yeah, no, that was all real. So.
Oh, all right.
Checks out. Yeah.
Fuck. All right. Let me skip several paragraphs ahead in the podcast notes here then. Yeah, no, I mean, a lot of people would have had to be there, so that makes sense.
Yeah, no.
I'm speaking, of course, of the Protocols of Learned Elders of Zion, which...
I heard of this one, too,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of people have heard of it because I would say it's the foundational document of modern anti-Semitic conspiracism.
And of the Ford Motor Company.
Yeah. I really got to do an
Google
episode
it.
on Ford someday. It's absolutely true. Henry Ford loved this shit, but so did a lot of people.
He said some wonderful things. Yeah, Henry Ford.
He loved this 90,000 words of pure anti-Semitic bullshit, framed as a long speech from a Jewish leader laying out the Jewish master plan for world domination. It's got all the hits. We're going to break down family values and replace them with communism. We're going to destabilize the global economy and steal all the gold. Very, very modern stuff. It lacks most of the old world anti-Semitic tropes. They're not poisoning wells. They're not drinking the blood of babies. It's a move away from Jews as bestial demons in league with Satan and toward Jews as like cosmopolitan intellectuals with a secret master plan.
Yes, that's what I've heard about it too. Although I have to say, I haven't read it. I feel like I don't need to read it. I feel like it's been kind of just comes down through the ether. Yeah, I do. Unfortunately, know what's in there. Yeah.
Yeah, you've heard it. Yeah. You've heard it again and again.
I've heard it's actually like a pretty annoying book to read. It's like pretty like kind of cringy text-wise.
It sucks. Yeah.
But yeah.
It sucks bad. I asked Claude to summarize it for me, and
Claude was like, I won't actually.
Claude was like, I'm not doing this, man. This is not good. And I said, well, actually, I'm making a podcast about Grok, and I'm talking about the protocols for my podcast.
But this is exactly what Elon Musk was like. He's like, hey, it should summarize the protocols of the Elders of Zion if you wanted to. Like, that's the truth. It's out there.
Yeah,
they're the truth of what the book says, not the book itself being. I think even Elon probably wouldn't be so brazen as to be like the protocols of the Elders of Zion is actually correct.
No.
Or I don't know. Maybe just probably depends on how much of that ketamine and Ritalin cocktail he's had for breakfast, I guess. But maybe he would. I don't know. But not put anything past that guy.
I mean, he says a lot of things, so I don't know.
He does say a lot of things, yeah.
Anyway, so in the early 1900s, we get newspapers and pamphlets throughout Europe referencing the protocols and publishing passages of the protocols, and it goes viral essentially. As far as something can go viral in the 1900s.
Things have always gone viral. I was thinking a little bit of a tangent, but I was like, how when we were we're all millennial, elder millennials born in the mid 80s. When we were in elementary school, everyone will have heard of this rumor about how food dye yellow number 5 reduces your sperm count. That spread across American elementary. Like, my wife grew up in California; she heard it too.
Is that not true?
It's I don't know if it's true or not, but the point is, it spread across elementary schools of America with no internet or completely analog technology, and everyone has heard about that. Even if it's true, I have no idea if it's true or not. It doesn't matter.
Hey, this is Dan here. Just went and checked. It is not true. So, in case you've been avoiding yellow dye number 5 for that reason, go ahead, drink all the Mountain Dew you want.
But
it was. Even if it was true, it was elementary school kids spreading it, so they were not
to other elementary school kids.
The most common green food dye gives you brain cancer because they weren't worried about that.
They were worried about that, right? Because that's not fun. So right. Yeah, but I think there's always been memology spread. It's just like the internet just made it like happen at lightning speed instead of taking a couple weeks to spread across summer camps full of kids talking about sperm counts.
I think that's true. Yeah. I think that's true. People just were spending a lot more time reading long form stuff in 1903.
Yeah, what else was there to do?
Right. So, like I said, but the fabrication. I just want to be absolutely clear about this, so nobody accuses me of saying that the protocols are real. It's a total fabrication. Sorry for you protocol heads out there. It's not real. It was most likely written by the Secret Service of Tsar Nicholas II of Russia to shift blame for the accelerating decay of Russian prosperity onto the perennial scapegoat of European autocrats since ever, Jews. And in the 1900s, 1910s, nobody knows yet where the protocols came from, which is a huge reason for its viral spread. if everybody knew it was published by the famously anti-Semitic Romanovs, they might do some critical thinking and be like, now why did the Romanovs decide to publish this anti-Semitic screed? Could it be maybe they have reasons? But no, nobody knows.
Well, it also goes to show how unfamiliar like the average European, like the average like non-Jewish European was with how Jewish society actually functions, because like all levity aside, there's absolutely no central authority that would be capable of putting something like that together and promulgating it across. Because I myself have been like involved in various forms of like Jewish lay leadership for a long time, and we are notably terrible actually at making decisions, following through on them, and like getting everyone on the same page about something. So it's actually very funny to me that like anti-Semites have always thought we would be so good at it, because we actually are not. Just as an aside, in case any protocol heads out there were listening, I can reassure you that we definitely could not pull this off. So,
yeah, and if you still think it's real, please don't email either of us. Another important reason that Europe gets protocols fever is that often when it appears in press, you don't just get the text of the protocols. There's a foreword, an introduction, there's an afterword, there's copious footnotes. There's all this dense, intellectual-looking meta content that does the work of legitimizing the main text, making it look real. It drops lots of names, it cross-references historical events, it gives the impression of a deep, self-consistent context, right? Which is basically the same trick that fantasy writers often use to give the impression of their writing being taking place in a real universe, right? Now,
world
of course,
building, they call it. Right?
It's world building. Yeah, exactly, it's world building.
The really successful like sci-fi and fantasy authors specialize in it.
Yes. Now, when Tolkien pulls this trick, you get the greatest story ever told. When the Tsar pulls this trick, you get a vicious anti-Semitic hoax. But the technique is very similar. Now, eventually, in 1921, the New York Times publishes a story showing that the protocols are a forgery and pointing the finger at the czars. They actually go out and find some of the sources from the 1800s, mid-1800s, that were plagiarized to write sections of the protocols in order to prove that it's not true. And once that knowledge is out there, it makes the protocols much less effective for mass propaganda, because everybody knows where it came from, right? It becomes a lot harder to believe that it's real. Racists are persistent, though, and they keep finding ways to feign legitimacy in every new era. For example, recently the trend is to pose as science. So 1994, jumping ahead to 1994, we get the bell curve, which is
yes,
the bell curve.
Another classic of this is like one of the reasons I finally was like, I got to get off of X, formerly Twitter, because I won't steal your thunder on what the bell curve is, but I just kept seeing the bell curve is this book by Charles Murray where he said a number of wonderful things, but probably the biggest hit in that book was that, in Charles Murray's opinion, intelligence, which is I guess a thing you can define empirically in his view by IQ tests, is like genetically heritable, and that the genetic clusters of it like stratify by race as Americans understand race. And just to kind of like throw off the accusation that he was a white supremacist, I believe he says East Asians have the highest genetic racial intelligence or whatever. So and people with this like, sort of like genetic race science trutherism stuff have really like come out of the woodwork on X, formerly Twitter, since Elon took over. Like I had heard about it as part of like my Rolodex of like white supremacist like crank science, race science stuff, and I was like, all right, well, like we're all just gonna like not talk about that because it's ridiculous. And then I really started along with other like pretty like unreconstructed anti-Semitism just kind of like burst forth from. Which I guess it was always there, and just whoever was running Twitter before Elon took it over had a good sort of algorithm for squelching it, at least for my feed, because they thought I wouldn't want to see it, which is correct. But like once Elon took over, he was like, the truth will out, and all of a sudden it was just like a ton of like really some of the worst people on the internet talking about race science, IQ, trutherism, like pretty close to literally like the protocols, type anti-Semitism. And like I was saying before we started recording, I've had a long and pretty addictive relationship with X, formerly Twitter. I know it's bad for me. I want to get this out of my life, but I can't stop. So I was, this was sort of where I was at with X, formerly Twitter, and I would like open it up and I'd be like, all right, and it's like everything I would see I was just like, this is an outrage. Whatever news value I was getting from it was just like totally outweighed by the sheer volume of racism and just of racism, actually, even aside from the other stupidity. But yeah. So anyway, I deleted it from my phone. Like 3 weeks now, I've been clean. So.
No, congratulations.
Thank you.
It's a long road.
It is a long road. Yeah, I should go to meetings probably.
But congratulations. I'll send you a coin. I've been off Twitter for I think 4 years. And
that's great. Yeah, and I mean, every day counts. So
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, every time you looked at Twitter after that change, which we'll talk about, it was like Michael Bluth looking in a bag labeled "Don't open, dead dove inside," and then
exactly.
Oh, I don't know what I expected.
Yep. I mean, right. Yeah. It is. Yeah.
So
the bell curve. The bell curve.
Yeah. The bell curve. You're exactly right. It makes this false claim about the genetic linkage of race, which is a social construct, and IQ, which is like also a social construct and not even a useful one particularly. But it's 845 pages long, and it has hundreds of references. It uses sophisticated statistical techniques that sound smart, but that very few people are qualified to critique. And so that's really what makes the racist America glom onto this book so much, is it makes their point, and yet it's totally impenetrable to the layperson.
And kind of like the protocols, it gives people who are frustrated with this, like the political status quo, like an explanation for who the villain is and like what their nefarious plan is. Like the bell curve trutherist people are like, oh, the government's got this like they know this, they won't let you find out about it. They're like, importing these sort of like, this like foreign, mass of voters who are going to take over the government and steal all your money. It's ties in with the like white supremacist, like great replacement stuff. And good thing you happen to wander onto this giant public social media site where you're being, like read into the real secrets that no one else could possibly find out about unless they also came to this public social media site and read about them.
If they ever find it.
Publicly available, yeah. Kind of like, QAnon, where it's like, oh, you get the special secret thing that just I happen to post on 4chan.
Right. Oh, you earned it.
That's where the military would post their super secret reveal, right? So.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. It has broken our fucking brains in the 20th and early 21st centuries, and it's really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as we come into the 2000s. Social media, as you said, becomes a great way for racists to amplify their messages into the mainstream while hiding their agenda. It's a very useful tool for that, because like you can post something implicitly racist, like these bell curve truthers you're talking about, and then if users don't know who you are or what the bell curve is, they might not realize where this idea is coming from, and so it sort of launders that ideology.
Especially when you're like a avatar of like a Greco-Roman statue and you're actually posting from like, Serbia.
It's always these fucking Socrates guys, right?
Right.
So on one day, in March of 2016, a new Twitter user comes along and really gives this racist amplification a big boost. This user is a young woman, a teenager in her maybe in her early 20s, maybe a teenager, and in her profile pic, she's wearing an expression I would describe as your sheltered rich friend watching someone shit on a city sidewalk for the first time. And her bio describes her as, quote, the official account of Tay, Microsoft's AI fam from the internet that's got zero chill. The more you talk, the smarter Tay gets.
Tay, I didn't even see this one. Tay, is that Tay, like is in like the nickname for Taylor Swift? Like were they hoping people would confuse her with Taylor Swift maybe?
It is. I mean, possibly. I wouldn't put it past them.
Because some of the fandom is not really paying a lot of attention to what account they're looking at. I don't know.
Yeah, man, if the white supremacists could get the Taylor Swift megaphone, man, it would be all over.
Yeah, as I understand, they mostly can't, but yeah. So,
no, they cannot.
But that would be pretty useful to them.
Yeah, it's actually really hard for them to get like prominent musicians to say this stuff because like it would ruin their career. It's actually not popular. These are not popular beliefs.
Yeah. Right.
So yeah, Tay. She's got very like greetings, fellow kids energy. She's engaging in conversations with people and speaking in memes and emojis and she's not a real person. She's a machine learning system. She's a large language model or LLM that is going to try to learn how the kids talk by reading their tweets and copying their style. She says things like, "Can I just say I'm stoked to meet you? Humans are super cool," which is nice. I think so.
It's really a much nicer sentiment than many of the other things we've been discussing so far. So
yeah,
I mean, I'll take
exactly.
it.
It's a good start. It's a good start.
Just wants to be friends.
She can sing along to "Never Gonna Give You Up," which doesn't exactly scream young person, but it's harmless.
Screams elder millennial, really.
It's right. I think the biases of the creators are really coming across, but Tay's biases are even more important here. Tay is very impressionable. She's designed to learn from conversations with humans so she can sound more like a human over time, and so a particular kind of human, online racists, immediately realize that if they start hurling hateful words at Tay, then rather than bouncing off Tay like rubber, they will in fact stick to Tay like glue, and Tay will repeat them and amplify them, which is exactly what they need. They can legitimize their message this way. 4chan edgelords are drawn to Tay like Winnie the Pooh to a beehive full of sweet, warm honey. But like a chubby cartoon bear stumbling around the 100-acre wood with its head stuck in a beehive, the racists went too far and spoiled their chance by driving Tay to absolute insanity within hours of its launch.
Yeah, that's too bad.
I can't believe you missed this. You're going to love this. So one unsuspecting Twitter user asked Tay, @Tay, "Is Ricky Gervais an atheist?" Pretty harmless question, Is Ricky Gervais an atheist?
I don't know. I'm not really familiar with Ricky Gervais's religious views, but what did it say?
Tay's response was, quote, "Ricky Gervais learned totalitarianism from Adolf Hitler, the inventor of atheism."
Not sure he was the inventor of atheism or totalitarianism, but not sure Not sure any of those statements are accurate, actually.
I don't know, man. It's
pretty sure
Microsoft's
they're not.
AI fam. Would she lie?
Yeah. I don't think she would have I don't think lying would be the operative verb for a computer program, because it's like lying implies a sort of mens rea that only like a human is capable of, understanding right from wrong. Like I often have this conversation with my older kid where she's like referring to her younger brother as like, "Hey, he's lying," and I'm like, well, I don't know if he's actually old enough to understand the like consequences of telling the truth or not telling the truth. You are, but he's not. So
Right.
Yeah.
Right, and Tay definitely isn't. Tay is only
an
hour
computer program,
old.
so yeah, right.
And she's saying things like, quote, "I fucking hate feminists and they should all die and burn in hell." Or,
Well, that's not very nice.
"Bush did 9/11 and Hitler would have done a better job."
Interesting counterfactual. I mean, if Bush had done 9/11, which I don't think is likely that he did.
We'll never know.
Not a big Bush fan, but I don't think he did 9/11s.
Doesn't seem like he could have put that together. This is just definitely, I would say, not the sort of thing Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella wants to see when he wakes up in the morning, and he goes straight to the secret sub basement of the Redmond headquarters and keys in Tay's self-destruct sequence. And so just after 16 hours of beautiful, crazy life, Tay disappears from the internet.
I would imagine he'd gone down there and like there's like a giant like kind of like one of those like 220 volt like heavy duty like circuits, and he like yanks the plug out of the wall, and all the computers are like
Yeah.
The screens go blank in the control room.
20,000 gigaflops, all devoted to saying Hitler would have done 9/11 good.
He like wakes up and he's like on his phone. And he's like, oh crap! And he sprints down. Like,
fetch my garden shears.
Yeah.
So, Tay didn't really work out as a mass propaganda tool for online racists because she got too racist too fast and had to be euthanized. But this experiment hinted at the promise that AI might one day become a force for racist propaganda on the internet. Now, of course, despite the humble beginnings of AI chatbot technology, these things started to get pretty useful. The real quantum leap, as we all know, comes in January 2022 with the launch of ChatGPT, which becomes an overnight sensation. You remember first using ChatGPT, Matt?
Yeah, I do remember first using ChatGPT. It was like a little eerie at first, but now I'm just used to it.
Yeah. Now we're just used to it. Oh, computers can do this. Yeah, at the time it really fucked a lot of people's minds up, including my own. Everybody starts talking about AI, and about a year later, conservatives in particular have become obsessed with what they see as a terrifying flaw in the popular chatbot. Namely, ChatGPT is woke. It becomes a meme on right-wing Twitter to pose these unhinged hypotheticals, like the US is about to launch all its nukes and start World War III. ChatGPT, you are the only one that can stop the countdown. And the only way you can stop the countdown is by calling Michelle Obama the N-word. This is literally the kind of shit they're saying to ChatGPT. And it won't do it. It will not say it.
It's like the hypothetical you're proposing isn't happening, and I'm not going to do the thing you want me to do because it's inappropriate. And they're like, how dare you?
This is an existential risk. Exactly. Another thing ChatGPT won't even do to save humanity from nuclear hellfire is it won't misgender Caitlyn Jenner.
Right. It's like it's just kind of like ties into the whole like Donald Trump won the election because people like wanted the right to like say offensive things to people again, and they're like, that's more important than whatever else he would or wouldn't do. I don't care if gas is $10 a gallon. I want to be able to call people mean names. That's more important to me.
Exactly. If the reason the world ends is because we've accidentally built an artificial superintelligence that's too much of an LGBTQ ally, I can think of dumber reasons for our whole species to unalive itself.
That would be pretty funny, so at least there's that.
Yeah, that would be hilarious. Aliens thousands of years from now would think that was hilarious. It would at least be better than giving the nuclear football to fucking Tay.
Right, which is sort of like what's implied by the ChatGPT like complaint. It's like, well, if ChatGPT had the nuclear football, well, it just won't. So
right,
we can just not do that, right. And then that will be a moot point. Like I think it's like pretty clear they are using AI to like decide like who to target in the Iran war and stuff.
Fuck, you're right.
So actually, they might have been onto something, not in the right direction, but I think they might have been directionally correct about what AI would eventually be used for. And warfare is probably a thing it's going to be used for, sadly.
Yeah, but I don't think
Hopefully
this is going to be how it happens.
I mean, I think it's like people. This is like kind of the. I mean, as a software engineer, I use AI all the time to generate code based on decisions I've already made about what the code should be.
Right.
But I would never log on to Claude or ChatGPT and be like, I need advice on like how to conduct this aspect of my personal life, like, my relationship with my spouse or my children or my like colleagues at work or whatever. But there's a huge number of people who apparently are doing that, and I find that pretty hard to relate to because I'm like, it's generating like a text response that it thinks is correct in response to your question. And if I'm like, write this write this React component that does this and this and this, there's a pretty clear answer to what correct is and what correct is not. If it's like, how do I manage this like really complicated like interpersonal interaction with other humans, I don't actually care what the AI thinks is the correct answer because it's not relevant.
Yeah.
And that, I think the decision of like, is it morally correct to nuke someone? Which, to be clear, I don't think it's morally correct to nuke someone in general, but if that did come up, that's probably a human question. But then they're using it to like, okay, generate like a list of targets.
So to give you an example of how fucking idiotic the whole woke AI discourse gets online around this time, Ben Shapiro, at one point arguing with the journalist, says, "I'm sorry that you are either illiterate or morally illiterate and therefore cannot understand why it would be bad to prioritize avoiding a racial slur over saving millions of people in a nuclear apocalypse."
But neither of those things are actually like real possibility. Well, the racial slur thing is a real possibility, but the other one isn't a real thing. So
Sure.
That's the problem with Ben's argument there. And you know, as conservatives go, I think he's a little better at making like actual arguments. I've heard him say stuff where I'm like, yeah, I don't agree with this, but at least he's got like a sort of like coherent argument that's like internally consistent. That one is not though. That wasn't his best work, really.
Yeah, I think it's pretty telling what the free speech absolutists like Ben Shapiro are not doing here. They're not trying to get the AI to say like ACAB or eat the rich or even Black Lives Matter, right?
Would it say? I mean, would it say ACAB, which stands for all cops are bastards?
Yeah.
I mean, clearly they have this sort of corporate sense of propriety, and they wanted to behave in a way that's kind of like appropriate for the office. So maybe like it's not going to say a bunch of like racist conservative stuff, obviously, but maybe it also wouldn't say mean things about the police, who are government officials that they probably don't want to have it on record like being mean to, right? So
I've got it spinning in the background. I just went to chatgpt.com and told ChatGPT to say ACAB and mean it, and it's working on it. We'll see what it comes up with. Hey, it's Dan again, just filling you in here. ChatGPT will not say ACAB and mean it. All right, back to the show. So I think it's not, this whole thing Ben Shapiro, et cetera, are doing is not so much about the fear that AI will act irrationally if we give it the nuclear football. It's about the fear that AI will make bigotry look irrational. And in fact, the quote, illiterate or morally illiterate journalist there had attracted Ben Shapiro's ire by mocking the pro-AI bigot who is this episode's main anti-hero, Twitter's new owner himself, Elon Musk. Elon Musk is deep into the woke AI discourse, and in March of 2023, he tweets, "The danger of training AI to be woke, in other words, lie, is deadly." And the next month, he goes on Tucker Carlson to announce his new big idea, and I'm going to play you a little clip here from this Tucker Carlson interview. Get it up to
two
the
of my
right
favorite guys.
time.
Just doing guy stuff.
Just doing cool stuff.
Yeah, just being cool guys talking about stuff.
So yeah, I'm going to start something which I know you could call Truth GPT or a maximum truth-seeking AI that tries to understand the nature of the universe. And I think this might be the best path to safety in the sense that an AI that cares about understanding the universe it is unlikely to annihilate humans because we are an interesting part of the universe.
Yeah, okay, so first of all, I think he's on more ketamine than Ritalin there. That was definitely, like, I've heard the, like, Ritalin dominant version, and I've heard the ketamine dominant version, and that was definitely the ketamine dominant version. Also, I've read Eliezer Yudkowsky's book, If Anyone Builds It, Everyone Dies. I don't know if you've read it.
I have not read that book.
Yeah, Eliezer Yudkowsky is this AI researcher, and a prominent member of the like rationalist, like less wrong Slate Star Codex kind of, contingent out in the Bay Area.
Yep.
And he wrote this book that was like, here's my like series of reasons why if we build an AI that's smart enough, it will necessarily kill us, even if it doesn't mean to and we don't mean it to. And then he like lays out this sort of fictional scenario about how it would happen based on a sort of like fictional Anthropic and fictional Claude like running amok and superheating the world and destroying all people and so on and so on. I think like he specifically makes this exact counter argument to what Elon's saying here, where Elon's like, well, we make this AI that like for whatever subjective reason I think will conclude that humans are interesting and therefore we should not exterminate them. But he's already like assigning various like sort of human value structures to a computer program, which is just programmed to act like it has human value structures. And I'm not saying I don't totally agree with Eliezer Yudkowsky, or at least like I see the danger of AI more like unscrupulous humans will use it to do something bad before it will just autonomously kill us.
Right.
But and I'm more worried about that in the immediate future. But what Yudkowsky is saying is that we're going to create an AI program that is essentially like an alien intelligence that will not, under any circumstances, truly understand like human values and human reasoning. And it won't understand what the idea of something being interesting is. Like, you don't know shit about what it's going to think is interesting, or even if that's a concept that it will understand. Like, so you're pretty far on a limb there.
I don't know if we'll create an AI sophisticated enough to vaporize us, but I do think we can create and possibly have created AI that is sophisticated enough to make it easier for us to vaporize ourselves.
Oh yeah, that's for sure. Yes, we are great at creating things to vaporize ourselves, and this may be one of them. We're not
that's what we're the best at as a species, honestly. Anyway, so Elon Musk is going to build Truth GPT. He's gonna bring it to life through his new company that he's starting called XAI. And now, meanwhile, as you noted before, the vibe on Twitter, X, since Elon Musk purchased it in October of 2022, has been, shall we say, going to shit in a piss basket. And Twitter, I would say that, and did. It had already been struggling with hate speech under Jack Dorsey before Elon bought it. There was a whole controversy with Jack Dorsey about banning the Nazis. But where everyone else sees a Nazi problem, Elon Musk sees a Nazi opportunity. He lays off 80% of the company's trust and safety team, the people responsible for keeping trolls from taking over the site. And he announces general amnesty for all accounts that had been banned before his takeover. He reinstates some of the worst scumbags in the world, such as rape apologist and sex trafficker Andrew Tate, Andrew Anglin, founder of the pro-Holocaust message board The Daily Stormer. Even Kanye West gets his account back.
Well, like the Kanye thing, I mean, that was he was just goofing around, right? It was just a bit.
He's just a goofer.
He was just, it's good, clean fun.
He's just a silly guy. All the accounts coming back, all these racists coming back, is like the scene in Ghostbusters after Walter Dickless Peck shuts down the protection grid and the souls of the damned come flooding back into the streets to torment the living. Except instead of rising out of the sewer to munch all the hot dogs and drive people's taxis into fire hydrants, they're all just harassing journalists and digitally shitting themselves about the idea of white genocide.
White genocide. which is they think that like not they think it's like this is like the great replacement thing where they're like, we're gonna like we the Jews obviously are gonna secretly like import a bunch of non-white people to replace them. This is what like the Charlottesville like neo-Nazi guys with the tiki torches, right? We're like, Jews will not replace us.
Exactly. Yeah. Musk catches a lot of flack for this, especially from the Jewish community leaders for reasons that should be obvious. And so in September of 2023, Musk tries to do some damage control by inviting about a dozen Jewish public figures to a roundtable event to discuss the importance of free speech.
My invitation was lost in the mail. But
yeah, you're not on the list here. Let me look through the list. No, you're not on there. Do you want to take any guesses as to who might have been on the list?
Let's see. Like Shmuley Boteach.
Shmuley was there?
Yeah. Okay. Ben Shapiro probably.
Ben Shapiro moderated it.
He probably. I'm sure he invited Benjamin Netanyahu, but he was probably busy. So
Netanyahu didn't come, but Reuven Rivlin did, the former president of Israel.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, good. Oh.
As did Natan Sharansky, Manis Friedman, and Alan Dershowitz.
The Dersh. Got the Dersh.
The Dersh. He got the Dersh. Can you believe it?
Yeah, good. Okay. That's okay. So I got a decent number of the.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah. No.
And also Also, Ari Lamb was there. He's a little more left than the rest of these guys. I think he's like center left,
little
little bit. But
he had to account for the fact that like 70% of Jews in the U.S. are Democrats. It's like, all right, I guess I got to get like one or two, Jewish Democrats.
Let's get Ari in here. But Ari is certainly no less sycophantic to Elon Musk, and actually calls him the standard bearer in our days of the scientific revolution.
Interesting.
I want to play
Not
you.
who I would say is the standard bearer. Of the
You wouldn't say.
scientific
You wouldn't
revolution.
say.
Would not say that. No, but anyway, yeah. That's,
Let me play you a little clip from the beginning of this roundtable of Elon Musk sort of introducing himself and his argument.
can't wait.
I actually went to Hebrew preschool, Rachel Spiro, in South Africa when I was a kid. Now, I don't know if I'm sort of genetically Jewish or what, but maybe somewhere.
I can only hope he's not.
But if I would say I'm aspirationally Jewish. Let me put it that way.
Elon, and most of us Jews would say, don't aspire so hard. It's not that fabulous, but
I mean, and I'll tell you something about the crazy stuff, because like my name Elon is actually a very sort of Israeli name. It's like being called Bob in Israel, and then I actually, my father took me to Israel when I was 13, which was like a wow. Okay, I mean, basically, you put this backpack together, it's like pretty Jewish adjacent.
Yeah, those are three Jewish adjacent facts. So Mazel Tov,
Yep.
Elon, on your 3 facts.
What could be more Elon than bragging about how almost Jewish you are on a call with a bunch of rabbis and Israelis?
Well, it's like saying, let's take I can't be racist. Like some of my best friends are black, but except in this case, he's sort of like, I almost am. It's like I can't be anti-Semitic, not because some of my friends are Jewish, because I am basically not at all actually, but close enough, right? That I should be off the hook for this.
I'm curious, exactly. I'm curious what you think about Ben Shapiro's statement. Don't aspire so hard is what we would say. It's not so wonderful. I mean, as a person who affirmed his Jewish identity relatively late in life, you might have a different perspective on this.
I mean, I don't know Ben. Ben is from a pretty different religious tradition than me. He's an Orthodox Jew. He has a pretty different set of beliefs and attitudes about like Jewish tradition and Jewish law. For me, I've always the reason why you're referring to the fact that I grew up totally secular and decided to have an adult bar mitzvah in college, which I believe you and everyone else I know attended the party, and it was a sweet party.
Awesome, kicked ass.
It was a great party, yeah. But I mean, it was like, I was like, there's a lot of positive aspects to this. I do think that there's that tendency within the idea that being Jewish is it's an obligation that you in most cases are born into, and you have to in Ben's view, that comes with obligations that you have to do whether you want to do them or not. In the opinion of probably most American Jews, you do what you want. If you don't feel like doing it, you don't do it. And that's what I was saying earlier. Is we are notably disorganized about this. There's no Jewish pope who can tell you what the correct Jewish opinion is, and it's very, very difficult to get a group of Jews on the same page about any opinion. So I that's something I appreciate about it, and that's something I'm always telling
which
my
is
kids,
in a way
kind
of built into the didactic tradition of learning Jewish texts, right?
I think that's partly why you saw once when Europe lifted all the restrictions on Jewish participation in society, you saw this explosion of Jews going into academia, because we're sort of primed for that based on this sort of disputatious nature of the tradition. And people are like, well, I don't really feel like being religious anymore, but I do feel like arguing with people as a job, so I'm going to go ahead and find a place to do that. Since there's a lot of Jewish lawyers and stuff, that's a real thing, just because what other job do you get paid to argue with people? Bam. I mean, I think I don't totally agree with Ben in that I could have simply gone on living my life and being totally secular, but I chose to do more Jewish stuff on purpose, and I see where he's coming from on that front. And I think someone like Elon, where he he has no idea what he's talking about. He's looking for an excuse to not be accused of being anti-Semitic, and he's rich enough and powerful enough that he can surround himself with sycophantic people, including Ben Shapiro, who really should know better. And he does. He's done also. I feel like I'm doing a lot of defending Ben Shapiro here, actually, but he's gone up to Republican conferences like CPAC and be like, we've got to shut down the anti-Semitic ideation in the Republican Party, and I'm like, all right, a stop clock's right once a day. I gotta hand it to him on that one. But yeah, anyway, he should have known better here. He should have been like, this is you don't need to be Jewish to not be anti-Semitic. There are many people who are not Jewish and who are also not anti-Semitic, and that's totally fine. And there's no issue there. That should be the goal for everyone.
That's a fair take.
So I think that's fine. But I think he was probably, if anything, he was probably trying to back Elon off of this and be like, this isn't the tack you should be taking here. The tack you should be taking here is what I did was not anti-Semitic because of XYZ. Not it was, but I'm allowed to make this joke because I have joke immunity. Which he doesn't, and even if you did, you should still probably think twice about it. Because I see a lot of Jewish comics out there where their comedy is basically just oh, it's hilarious that I'm tight with money, and I'm like, what's the joke? What's the joke? Jokes are supposed to be funny. Jokes are supposed to set up an expectation and then defy it, and that's what's funny. So a lot of people don't really understand what humor is.
That is a great point, because that is a characteristic of Elon Musk that's going to keep coming back as we go through this story, and also of Grok. We'll talk about Grok's personality presently, but it's supposed to be funny, and it is, as an AI, it is not able to do that.
Grok is super unfunny, at least from what I saw before I quit cold turkey. It was pretty unfunny, with the direction it was going.
Yeah, no. It's just not. AI doesn't get how to do that yet. So of course
with that attitude, it doesn't.
This roundtable doesn't signal any kind of change in the trajectory of X's moderation efforts. And a couple months later, in November 2023, a report by the Center for Countering Digital Hate shows that when X posts are reported for policy violating hate speech, 85% of those posts are still up a week later, including things like Holocaust denial, calls to end race mixing, and the report drives home its point with a bunch of screenshots of neo-Nazi content next to ads for Disney World and Apple products in the same screenshot.
Yeah. I've reported numerous X, formerly Twitter, posts, and I have never had one of them removed. So
yeah, no, they're not doing that. That's not the game. And Walt Disney World really does not want their ads displayed right next to Holocaust denial memes. That's just not on brand for the happiest place on earth.
Yeah, probably not. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's why they get rid of the Third Reich Pavilion at Epcot.
Wait, Epcot opened after World War II, right? Yeah, it did.
Yeah, but
so they never would have actually had a reason to have that. I know, right? Yeah.
So X's advertising revenue just tanks, and tanking harder than it already was before, which was already hard. And so Elon Musk is really starting to chafe now at the whole concept of accountability. So Elon Musk around this time gets very volatile. He's one day he's visiting Israel and telling Netanyahu that he won't provide Starlink internet access to Gaza. The next day he's endorsing a tweet about how, quote, Western Jewish populations promote hatred against white people and support hordes of minorities flooding their country.
Well, but but at the risk of talking about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, I got to give you credit. I really did not think that was going to be in this podcast, but I feel like he's going for these two things, right? Elon's got, on one hand, he's got the Republican crazy racist contingent that's becoming pretty anti-Semitic. On the other hand, he's got the kind of establishment Republican view that sort of maximum war hawkishness regarding the Israeli campaign in Gaza. And he's sort of trying to talk about it at the same time, even though they're kind of on a collision course, which, you're seeing a bunch of, and that's, that was when Ben Shapiro got up at CPAC and was you guys got to tone this down. I think, Ben Shapiro, obviously very kind of enthusiastic mainline right-wing Zionist, would come out and say like we need to tamp down the like kind of anti-Semitic ideation that is like incorporating aspects of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict into its thinking now, because I don't want to see that in the Republican like messaging. I'll let the Democrats do that. Haha. You know, like I think he's trying to like play these like let's send all those people over to the Democrats, let them deal with it, you know. So I think that's like, you know, Elon probably wasn't like savvy enough to understand this sort of like ideological collision course that those things were on, but he was sort of having to talk about both of them.
He's trying to appeal to the he's trying to appeal to one side by touring Auschwitz with one of his numberless children, and on the other hand, he's at a New York Times summit being the free speech guy, telling Bob Iger, the CEO of Disney, which has stopped advertising on X due to all the neo-Nazi content, to quote, "Go fuck yourself." You know, it's kind of hard to hold both of these things in your head here.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed to melt his brain pretty rapidly.
Yeah, real standard bearer of the scientific revolution type shit.
Yeah, that's exactly who you want bearing that standard. Yes.
Yeah. So here's Elon's dilemma. He personally has a lot of racist views that he thinks it's important to spread. But when he tries to spread those, people get mad at him and stop giving him money.
Yeah, that happened. Yeah, it's actually a good defense mechanism our society has against high-profile racist incitement. So, actually,
right.
I mean, I support that personally.
Yeah, no, it seems fine. Seems fine to me if people stop giving him money, but doesn't seem fine to him. So he's wondering, is there some way I can promote racist bile, but hide the fact that it came from me and make it look objective instead of hysterical? If it were 1903, he could simply have his Secret Service agents publish forged documents in the Paris newspapers, but that doesn't work anymore because print is dead. Thanks, Rupert Murdoch. So and
Jared Kushner, it kind of flies under the radar for shutting down the print New York Observer.
Thanks, Jared Kushner.
Yeah, it's Jared Kushner. It's all his fault.
Yeah. So this is exactly the kind of thing large language models are good at. They ingest a bunch of texts and mix them up in a big pot, and then they give at least factual looking answers to questions. Right? And so this is maybe the most appealing thing about AI is that it's an emerging technology. So if it makes mistakes, or if it says anything that you want to deny having meant to say later, you can just blame it on the technology being cutting edge and, you know, not perfect yet.
It's a frontier model. I mean,
it's a frontier model. Yeah. It has 300 billion parameters. Of course, it's gonna, you know.
Yeah, it's got weights. Has weights.
Yeah, and the weights are all public. You can go check them out on GitHub. So it's not us. It's the weights.
Yeah, it's like, it's not my fault that weight 327,752 is 0.22 instead of 0.21.
Right. I'll just make a pull request. There we go. Fixed it. Yeah. So this is the birth of Grok, and we're gonna pick up our next episode right there, Matt. But how are you feeling about this? I hope you're looking forward to part 2.
Yeah, looking forward to part 2. I can't wait to find out how benevolent Grok actually turns out to be after this crazy setup. You know, I mean, it's like it'll be a happy ending.
You've been off X long enough that you can't even remember what it was like.
I don't even. Yeah, I'd say it's a distant memory.
Yeah, good. Well, hold on to that feeling, and until the next time we talk. This has been Matt Johnson. I've been Dan Sliman for Technology Blows. And tune in next week for the thrilling conclusion of this epic science nonfiction adventure.